Hi friends, this is Lauren. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I'm doing something a little different today. I was gifted the Waffle Flower ink swatching bundle, and there are so many dies and stencils and paper in this, or like label paper in this bundle. I was gifted all the different sizes, and I'm excited to be able to create some cardstock swatches and adding more labels to my inks, but I'm going to just feature one of the dies and stencils, and I'm going to be swatching or inking up the labels for my Simon Hurley Stellar ink pads. There's 12 of these ink pads, and I found that the ink Swatch Slim label die and stencil fit perfectly for the sides of these ink pads. I also really need to swatch up some other ink pads that are going to be the same size, so I'm excited to just kind of give this bundle or the set of the bundle a try. So I have the Ink Swatch Slim Label Stencil, the Ink Swatch Slim Label Die, and the printed numbers for the Ink Swatch Slim Label Die. The printed numbers come with two sets of 1 through 72. Now, I was going back and forth on what would be, I guess, the easiest way to stencil these numbers. There are some videos on the Waffle Flower Crafts YouTube channel and on their website, but I wanted to do this as if I just was getting this and trying to figure it out myself, which is pretty, I think, evident here. But I wasn't sure what would be easier to stencil the 6 different colors on one set first, or to die cut and then stencil. So I'm going to do both, and I will give my honest opinion after I do both. So for the first one, I'm grabbing my first color, which is Prom Queen, and I'm going to add the ink through the stencil to number 1. Now, I went from like darkest on the left to lightest on the right. You'll see later that I wish I would have flipped that, but I liked the fade of color so I can see, adding on more ink, what that's going to look like, or if I go in with a softer hand. So after I'm done with number 1, I'm grabbing the stencil and I'm using the guides. There's like a laser etched line so you can see where each rectangle is. And I'm lining it up to stencil number 2 with Bee Sting. And I'm going to repeat this process going through each of my colors. So after Bee Sting, I'll move on to Guppy for orange. And then for yellow, it is Shooting Star. And then the next color is green, which will be 4. And then after that is Later Gator, if I remember correctly. I'm speaking faster than I'm coloring. Yes, Later Gator. And I have blending brushes for each of these colors, so it's making this really nice and easy and making sure that the colors on what will be my labels are true to the color of the ink pad. I'm using the die now and just using some mint tape to keep that die in place, and I will say that it did a really good job, the stencil, and well, me lining up the stencil correctly. There was a little bit of white space on some of them where I just didn't get the stencil lined up in the same spot that I had my die. Or vice versa, the die lined up right to the edge of the stencil, but honestly it was pretty easy. It took some time, but now let's try the other way. So I'm going to use the die to cut out 7 through 12. I'm going to grab one of my Waffle Flower grip mats. I have quite a few in different sizes because I love them so much. So I'm going to start by grabbing just one of my mats. I'm going to grab my square one, and I'll add the first label, which is number 7. I'm trying to make sure my ink pads stay in order, so when I apply them later, it will not be too out of order. So I'm going to add that number 7 label to the grip mat and then put the stencil around it. I could have gone with a slimmer one if I wanted that white border, but I didn't really care about having a white border. And I don't know if this is necessary, I guess, to use the stencil because you could just ink blend right onto the mat, but because it's a grip mat, it's a little sticky. The stencil is not sticky, so if you put the stencil around the label, your blending brush won't get stuck to the grip mat. So again, I don't know if it's totally necessary. You could probably just do the die on its own and it'd be fine, but I like that it just makes it easier. And I will say, I found this way to be faster and easier. Here you can see where I was kind of regretting going from dark to light. I wish I would have gone light to dark so you didn't really cover the number too much, but honestly, it's fine. I'm not really going to use the numbers, I think. We'll see, but right now I'm just wanting to get the color on the side of my ink pad. So anyway, back to what I was saying is I did find it easier to stencil after die cutting. Just dropping in the labels and moving on to the next color was much easier than trying to get the stencil lined up perfectly and then die cutting. So here's how they all look. Let's zoom in. You can see 1 through 6 on the left, 7 through 12 on the right. I think the 7 through 12 looks better. It's cleaner. But if you want to stencil first, you definitely can. It was probably just a little bit more effort getting things lined up perfectly, but it's possible. Second thing I wish I would have done is added some adhesive to the back of my dies before or the back of the paper before die cutting. It would have made turning these into stickers a lot easier than just adding the double-sided adhesive after it's been die cut. But either way, it's not difficult, just a little extra step. So I'm using a 1/4 inch rip and stick from Trinity Stamps. It's perfect for this width of the die cut, and just adding them right to the side of my ink pad. I'm trying to make sure all of my ink pad covers are the same direction, since these are attaching to the cover and not the ink pad part. So I want them to all look the same. So I'm just making sure that they're all facing the same direction when I apply the labels to the sides of the caps. So here is my second set really, 7 through 12. And then I'll have my first set here, 1 through 6. So these are all the colors that they have in the Stellar inks. Again, from Simon Hurley Ranger ink, all in order. And I've put them into my little ink shelf here. I keep my blending brushes with them, and you can see it's very easy to see the color. I love that. If I move my brushes, I won't have to worry about the color not matching. You can see previously I used sticker paper and a label maker to label my oxides, but I did find this much quicker and much easier and less messy. I made a huge mess trying to label all of those rectangles, or color them all. So now you can see I can use this set to finish the rest of my Simon Hurley inks and the rest of my Distress oxides and more. So I'm really looking forward to continuing using this swatch set. Let me know if you'd like to see a certain size for me in the future, and I'll make a short video about that. Thank you to Waffle Flower for sending these products. I really enjoy it, and it makes me happy being able to organize my ink pads. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!